I wish
Do you
Marvin.
think like Floyd Mayweather like walks by and just says, "Thank you, Connor, for getting me out of this tax problem I'm in"?
Yeah,
Like, he does that every morning.
I'm sure.
High five.
Yes is the answer to that. And
Like he wakes up in the morning, he does like the Sammy Sosa home run thing where he just like kisses his lips and then like points to Connor's picture and says thank you. Like he has to. Like there's no way that he doesn't do that.
He made a lot of money off of a lot of pissed off fans, such as myself, who has still not gotten my refund.
Have you not gotten your refund from the UFC?
I have not. So here's what I'm going to do, and I forgot to do it.
You know the issue, don't you? Of the issue of the UFC had a mess up with their fight pass, and people that bought it didn't get the fight because the system was overloaded. You were one of those people.
I had to purchase the fight twice.
UFC promised to refund people.
They still have not. And the last is a message board right now with about 40 people in it that have still not gotten their refunds. I'm sure the number's a lot more, but it's a small message board. 40 people that have not gotten their refunds. The only guy that I know that got his refund was because he refuted it with his bank. So that's my next step, is to actually refute the charge with the bank.
That's a good step. You should do that. And then tweet directly at Dana White like every 5 minutes. Just have like an automatic tweet.
Yep.
It just says, "I want my money back."
And you know, and the thing is, and
call it fraud. No, seriously, go to the bank. Go call it fraud if you want.
Yeah, they took my money. I did not get the service that they promised.
And they're not going to want to fraud ding against them, I don't think. But go through that process and say that now you believe it was fraudulent.
Yep.
If there's no other recourse, Mark Garagos is putting together a class action lawsuit out of Oregon. I don't know why Oregon, but a class action lawsuit on this issue to try to get money back for large groups of people. But then if you jump into that one, then you got to see if you want to go there. And then Garagos gets
my $99
gets a few bucks.
Or my $90 is the price of like 2 hot dogs at the UFC fight. So I think they can afford to give me my money back. So Cliff, we got Tony Ferguson, Kevin Lee. Tony Ferguson coming in at minus 200 in the betting, so he is favored to win compared to Kevin Lee as plus 170. So we got Ferguson favored to win. That this is Westgate betting odds here in Las Vegas. Who do you got? Who are you taking?
I'm gonna be honest, man. I gotta take Tony Ferguson. I like him. He's a great wrestler. I like his mentality of just, I'm going in there to fight until I die, and I don't know. It's just something about Tony Ferguson. He's a very passionate guy, as you can tell, obviously, from the media day today. But he's definitely one of those guys I really respect a lot, so I have to go with him.
Here's one of the things I love about MMA, and this fight is indicative of that. And this is what I used to do all the time when I was with the World Series of Fighting, which has now changed its name, I believe, to Pro Fighting League or something. We're on the NBC Sports Network, but I was there from day one with this organization and built it up. And like I said, this fight is indicative of the fact that you can take people. What makes it Ultimate Fighting and makes it so worldwide is that you can take people from different disciplines with different skills, from different genetic backgrounds, and put them in the ring together and not know what's going to happen. A tough black guy from Detroit against a Mexican-American Tony Ferguson, or it can be an Iowa wrestler, a white dude Iowa wrestler against some Brazilian jiu-jitsu master, or it can be some bloke from Ireland that thinks he's a tough guy. Okay, no, against somebody from Australia that thinks they're mean, or a guy, or a black guy from Florida, or you don't need to have
the octagon is the great equalizer.
It is the great equalizer, and the skills that it takes such a variety of skills that it becomes a truly worldwide sports, where boxing has the fear of being just marginalized because it's hand speed.
Well,
because so much of it is hand speed.
You're right.
And that leaves a lot of people in the world out.
And it's predictable. The thing is like you could watch boxing, and you're going to say, hey, this guy's got the defense, this guy's got the moves, or this guy's got the knockout capabilities. Okay, you've narrowed it down to about 4 different types of wins, right? Whereas in the octagon, you have your ground pounders, you have your guys that are great on their feet. So I mean, there's so much more versatility. The different types of martial arts that are being put in there, between jiu-jitsu and bringing in a little bit of wrestling. I mean, there's just a lot of different facets that make it more more interesting. And you know, to be honest, obviously the UFC's done it right in, you know, not alienating a lot of their audience, other than not giving me my
money back.
But for what it's worth,
stealing $100 from
to
you.
their credit, it was a boxing match. So.
Well, there you go.
So all right, let's Demetrius Johnson.
No, but you're right though. One thing I love about the UFC though is that what's funny is, and we talked about this a couple times actually on Get the KO, is that if you look at a person from where they're at, you're pretty much going to know what they're dominant at. But every fighter in the UFC is good at everything, but they excel at one thing. So when you're talking about, like, you know, if you're fighting from Japan, you're probably going to be really great with striking with your feet. If you're from England or the UK, you're probably going to be really great at boxing. If you're from the North America, you're probably really great at wrestling. And if you're from, like, Brazil, you're pretty good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You may be good in all areas, but you're going to excel in one of those areas.
Yep,
and we see that.
right.
But then what's so much fun is to watch someone like, you know, like Matt Hughes go in and be able to tap out, or not tap out. He knocked out Royce Gracie, even though he had the opportunity to break his arm and chose not to. He ended up knocking him out. And then you have guys like Royce Gracie, who goes in against a great wrestler and striker like Ken Shamrock and taps him out in a few seconds. So you see the variety everywhere, but it's so great to see, like, everybody be able to be good at everything. The only thing that I kind of miss, and it's funny because I brought it up too, is that I'm missing, like, that good heel character, right? So that guy who's just like, he's a bad guy. Like, everybody doesn't like him because he talks a lot of trash and he backs it up. So like a Josh Koscheck or Frank Mir at one time was that guy where they're going to say what they want to say. They're going to go out there and handle their business, and then they're going to call out the next opponent. And I think, like, the future of the sport right now, as far as, like, a heel kind of guy, like that bad guy, would be like a Mickey Gall, who, like, his first professional fight, he calls out CM Punk. And then after CM Punk, he calls out Sage Northcutt. After Sage Northcutt, he calls out Dan Hardy. And he just keeps, like, calling out next fighters and wants to keep finding those guys. And just talks about them. Like,
I don't know.
I don't care about this corny dude. I don't care about that guy. And I don't care about this guy.
It seems...
I think the one thing that kills me is the whole, we're the best friends. We're very humble about the next fighter.
I don't know.
Be humble after the fight, but before that fight, I want to see you guys talking.
It seems like the future of the sport is to take people that have been retired for years and take them back. GSP fighting next month after a long time off. So
I thought he was going to come back and fight Marvin Hagler there for a little bit. That they both were going to. He was out that long, but it didn't happen. Yeah.
I thought he was going to have a fight against George Burns.
I was pulling for Tony Lights Out.
Tony Lights Out. There you go.
So I mean, you know, that's. And you know, they're still trying to get Brock Lesnar back in the ring. I mean, they're just taking. I mean, I don't know. And maybe we're victimized a little bit by the Conor McGregor syndrome, where people want that overhyped stuff. And you know, anything lower than that, and it's not the fight of the century and stuff like that, it's going to start to lose appeal. And that's why I think the UFC is bringing back, I mean, you know, obviously GSP is, you know, a fan favorite to many, many people, but, you know, who else are we going to bring back? Randy Couture? So.
Oh. Well, and the funny thing
Where's
is,
Tito
though,
Ortiz?
if you look on the other side, where you have the Bellator tournament, right? And you have someone like Michael Venom Page, who is just, he's a nightmare. First of all, he cracks dude's skulls, and it's gross in itself. But then he turns around and he just talks trash about people. He grabbed a Pokeball and threw it at an opponent. Like, let's be real. Like, that's something that just never really gets talked about.
It's not a water bottle, Conor McGregor. It's not a water bottle, which he threw.
No, but he did this in a ring. Like, he did it in the Opulent after knocking a guy out.
Not at a press conference.
Hey, that's class, you know. So let's do a quick rundown. Demetrius Johnson and Ray Borg. Johnson minus 1,400. So heavy favorite going into this weekend. Ray Borg plus 800. So who you taking?
So I got to go with DJ in this one. There's something to be said about a guy who's going to walk in and all he has to do is show up, and he's already going to break Anderson Silva's record for most title defenses. And then when he wins, he's going to break Anderson Silva's title defense record. So something to be said about someone who's going to go in. He's on a huge win streak, obviously. Ray Borg definitely has the ability to end that streak, but a guy like Demetrius Johnson, who's been preparing for this fight for the last 16 weeks, he's just going to be extra focused, extra motivated to go in there and finish this. And I know Ray Borg is definitely excited to look for that knockout, but it's just not going to happen. There's just going to be too many takedowns and a couple strikes, more takedowns, ground out the fight, because that's what Demetrious Johnson likes to do. So I got to give it to Mighty Mouse on this one.
And Werdum and Lewis. Werdum comes in as the favorite, minus 260. Lewis is at plus 210.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to go with and this was a fight that I kind of brought up, and I think me and even Anthony, we got split on this fight, as well as he took Derek Lewis, and I actually took Fabricio. And I'd said, because Derek Lewis is one of those guys who when he smells blood, he hunts, and he goes in for the kill. And the unfortunate thing is that Fabricio, even though he has kind of a glass chin, when he gets knocked down, he still has the ability to lock you up and tap you out. And we saw that with Fedor. We've seen that with a couple other fighters that's happened out there. So I'm pulling for Fabricio. I know Anthony was pulling for Derek Lewis. So definitely I'm going to pull for Fabricio, like I said.
All right. And one last question. I'm going to put you on the spot. For betting purposes, what is your absolute lock of this weekend? If I had money to blow,
down to your last 10 grand,
and I wanted to win, what is your lock between main card and undercard? Who you taking? That you guaranteed to win. You got any locks for us?
If you're going guaranteed win and you have the money to blow, put it on DJ. He's definitely going to get that victory. He's definitely.
And what's the number on Demetrious Johnson is what?
It's minus 1,400.
Oh, minus 1,400. Well, you asked. Okay, Bill.
You can get.
You asked.
That's a lot of money I got to put down to win a little bit.
But if you were looking for that next fighter who's definitely going to probably come out on top, you definitely want to go with Brad Tavares. He's going to be on the UFC Fight Pass. He's been in the UFC for a long, long time. He's definitely one of the guys to check out. The reason why I like him so much, I'm kind of biased too when I say this. I like all Hawaiian fighters, even when they're losing, like Travis Brown. But Brad Tavares is from Kailua. I used to live there. He's definitely one of my favorites. So Brad Tavares, that's the other person I would put my money on. Yeah,
Tavares coming in at minus 190. So that's a more of a palatable bet.
Right.
So that's not as bad as a minus 1,400.
You could bet 100 and win $50. Yeah, a little less than $50, $45.
Yeah. So minus 190 for Tavares. That's and lastly, obviously we talked Ferguson and Lee. And you said Ferguson. How's he going to win? Is it gonna go the distance, or are we gonna get a tap out?
Ferguson is definitely going the distance in this fight. He's good. The one thing about Lee is that Lee has never been pushed to go with 5 rounds. So I see Ferguson grinding this fight to get to the 4th and 5th rounds and just takes in the championship rounds.
Well, and to that end, I got to tell you what Kevin Lee said today. And he said, and this is during a media scrum, so there's 4 or 5 media people around there, and I'm talking to him, and he says, I want this to go 5 rounds. I want it to go the distance. I want this fight to go the distance. And then a media guy asked him, like, if you could knock him out earlier, would you want to knock him out earlier? And he looked at the guy sort of stupidly, like, of course. Yes, I would. If I had the chance, I'd like to.
Man,
he says, but if I had my preference right now, I would like this fight to go the distance. I want it to go 5 rounds. I want it to go 5 rounds. I want that. So I'm ready for it too. I want it to. Now, it might just be him convincing himself, but it was sort of unusual. Usually you hear guys say, well, let's go Conor McGregor. It's the 4th round. It's the 3rd round. It's the 2nd round. And he was pretty good for a while at predicting rounds and getting knockouts early in fights, Jose Aldo. But he didn't say 13. He didn't say 13 seconds, but came close. First, I think he did say 1st round. But anyway, Kevin.
The crazy thing about it though is Kevin Lee, like not being pushed that distance, that championship rounds. Like even if he was even headlining a fight, this might be something where I would have leaned in for Kevin Lee if he had ever fought in those championship rounds, even those final rounds as a headlining fight. But because he's never fought in those 4th and 5th rounds, there's a whole different beast. And yeah, it's one thing that you can fight 5-minute. You can fight for as long as you go in the first 3 rounds. Yeah, but once you hit that 4th and 5th round, your body's tired.
We used
You're not
to see
wanting
the
to go anymore.
Same thing out of Rumble Johnson all the time.
Oh, Rumble Johnson.
He after like 2.5 rounds, he was just kaput.
Have I given you my favorite Rumble Johnson story? Have I told Rumble Johnson stories on this podcast
I have not
already?
heard a Rumble Johnson story. Well,
Okay.
give us 1 sec. Let's let
Reset with Clifford.
let's let Cliff plug his show. We'll let him get out of here. So I know he's got a lot of sports writing to do. Obviously your podcast is Get the KO, and you also are you run the Sports Therapy. If people wanted to listen to you, how would they be able to go about and do that?